We do love you, Justin. Thank you. Let's give it up for Justin. Let's give it up for Justin. Come on. So, just because he was too chicken to do this, have some cards. Okay? Pick them up off the floor, please. Clean up. Jeez, you guys are such pigs. I want to get into it, but first I have something really quick I want to do. Somebody told me that yesterday was somebody's birthday, and so I want to wish him a happy birthday. He's trying to run. So, would you guys do me a favor? Would you sing happy birthday to him? Just all right. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Lawrence. Happy birthday to you. Give it up one more time for you. Sorry, but had to do it. 25. All over again. Yes. Thanks for letting me have a little fun with you. Real quick, we talked last week about the heart, right? We mentioned the F word, right? Feelings. It's hard for me to say. And it's funny because I was scrolling through Instagram throughout the week, as I do when I'm bored. It's a bad habit, I know. But I came across this interview with Shaquille O'Neal. You guys know who he is, right? Okay, just make sure. Somebody was talking to him about feelings, and he said, I don't tell my wife anything. I tell her absolutely nothing, because the man of the house is supposed to be the man of the house. He's supposed to have control over everything. He's supposed to be strong, and I'm not going to share that with her. I don't want to burden her. I don't want to have her have a bad day because I had a bad day. And I kept thinking, man, how sad. How sad that you can't tell your wife these things, that you won't tell your wife these things, that you won't just tell her I had a bad day and let her be there for you. It's not about being hard, guys. It's about being soft, like Jesus was. A soft heart that's willing to share, willing to express, willing to emote, right? As men, we want to be steel wrapped in velvet. We want to be soft on the outside so that people can get close to us and we can get close to others, especially our brothers. And with that in mind, I'm going to bring up a good friend of mine, Mr. Michael Platt. Mike is a guy that I met a couple years ago, and we've gotten to know each other. Mike, man, prison guard, other things.
Sure.
Yeah. Is that what you call
Not
you?
anymore.
Not anymore. Was.
I'm a follower of Christ now.
See? That's what we're talking about. That's what we're talking about. But I've gotten to know him over the years, and I've known that Mike wears his heart on his sleeve. He's compassionate. He's full of God's love. And I wanted him just to kind of come up here and have a conversation with me so that you guys get to be a part of. Sound good? All right, let's do it, man. Let's dive in. So, Mike, for these guys that may not know you, some of them probably do, 2 minutes.
Okay.
Who are you?
So,
Christ.
Okay. All right. So, I was born in the church. Kind of grew up in church. Not this style of church, a little different. So I've known God my whole life, but I never necessarily truly knew Him. And we'll get into that here in a little bit. But had a pretty traditional mom and dad always around. But looking back on it, not necessarily the best example for my dad, even though he was there. So kind of went through, life and, just got taught things from very early on, how to kind of shove things down or make jokes about things to not really feel that stuff. And I think we all can kind of relate to those things. And, just kind of grew up in that kind of checking a box, going to church kind of deal. When I was 23 years old, started working for the Department of Corrections, and I did that for 27 years, retired a couple years ago. I started as an officer in a level 4 prison, ended up as a sergeant in a level 3 prison, ended up as a lieutenant and a captain in a level 2 prison, so kind of went through the whole thing. And just kind of hardened my heart over those years. It's just kind of what happens, right? It doesn't matter which side, and a lot of people are saying good guys, and none of that stuff matters, right? It's just we all get hardened in our own journeys through those things, right? So I kind of went through that, and I'm married, been married for, 28 years, I think, this year. It'll be 28 years, but my wife and I have known each other since we were little kids, 6, 7 years old. And, you know, did our thing when we started dating when I was 18 and she was 17, 19, something like that. So we just kind of been together. And I wish, part of me, I don't wish anymore, right? I pray about everything. So like, God's always been in our relationship, but he's never been the focus of our relationship. And looking back on it, it's because we were meant to be doing this journey right now. So yeah, a couple kids, we've got 2 grandsons that are 8 months old now, and luckily, even though we raised our kids in that church that didn't necessarily give us a great relationship with God, they've been on this journey with us in the last several years. So our kids are saved, our kids are in their faith. Our daughter-in-law had never been to church until she met our son, and she came with us before she even met him. Like, he's in the Coast Guard. He was stationed in Florida. She's from this valley. They started dating. They never knew each other face to face. She started coming with us to church before she even ever met him in person. So those little things, and that's God working in all those things. So, you know, the biggest thing is over all those years and those things I can see now, that my heart had been hardened between the example I had as a kid and, you know, Josh was talking about Shaq a minute ago, and I think I was the oldest in my family, especially my mom's side. I didn't see my dad's side too much, but on my mom's side, I was the oldest. I was the oldest grandkid, I was the oldest cousin, I was the oldest on everything. So I had to put that hard surface on, because it's like, okay, if I'm watching all my cousins and stuff, I have to be the one in charge. So it's like, I could never feel the different things, and my aunts relied on me, and my mom, and all these people relied on us. And I think we all have that same kind of journey, right? We're the men, everyone's gonna rely on us, so when something's going sideways, can't feel anything. We just have to be, you know, man up and do that stuff. That's what we can't be taught. But yeah, it's just kind of my journey. Been here for, you know, the last several years, and God put me here, and it's the most beautiful part of my life. Started my journey a couple years before I retired, so it kind of helped that end part of my career. But yeah, I used to identify as, you know, I did this for, you know, someone asked me what you do, and I'm like, oh, I work here, I work there, and now it's follow Christ.
That's awesome, man. Well, let's dive into some of these questions I got for you. So, you know, most of us learned or didn't learn how to deal with our emotions based on who we grew up with, or who we were around, friends, parents, all that kind of stuff. What did you learn growing up, and who was it that taught you, good or bad?
So I think a lot of us, like for me, you know, having my dad in the picture, and on the surface, like, our family was definitely that, like, quintessential American white picket fence kind of family. My parents were married for years, but I had a really poor example when it came out to deal with things. And I mean that my dad would deal with things through lustful actions and lustful thoughts, and he would make jokes about it. And that's how he would stuff his feelings. So it never came out, you know, that he was feeling anything. So I learned from an early age either to make a joke about it. My dad's jokes were incredibly off color looking back on them now. Like, I should never hear a sexual joke about my 3rd grade teacher when I'm 8 years old, right? And I can remember that vividly. I never thought much of it until I became an adult on this journey. I'm like, man, I should have never had that kind of example, but it's how he shut it down. And then what I learned from then, my dad would also go very numb, right? And I think, I don't want to pass by, in the book it talks about numbness. And I think we do it even when we don't realize we're doing it, and looking back on it, my dad definitely did that and gave me an example of being numb. And here's what I mean by numbness. In our hearts, like, if we're having a bad day, or we're rough, or upset with whoever, the wife's like, hey, you want to go out to dinner? Yeah, sure, let's go out to dinner. Where do you want to go? Okay. No, really, I want to, you know, let's go out to, no, I don't care. Well, we picked my place last time, let's pick your place. That not interacting is a numbness. And I think, at least for me, that's a lot of the way I handle things. But it was from those examples, because my dad was gone all the time. And when he would come home, we'd be like, no, I don't care, just do whatever you want. And I think that's easy. I think that if we're not feeling it, like, be able to say, look, I've had a rough week, I really don't want to decide. It's okay to say those things. And heart-wise, for me, because of having that hardened heart for so long with the things I would see and go through at work, it just exacerbated that. So it made that initial hard-heartedness that I was kind of learning from my dad, and I turned around to do this for a career, just intensified that hardness. So it's kind of tough.
Yeah, that makes sense. I'm sure that there was an aspect of your life that you kind of just shoved down or shoved away or didn't deal with for years, creating wounds inside of you. What are some of those wounds, if you don't mind sharing, what are some of those wounds that maybe you stuffed down and didn't realize until you were older?
So, because I had that example of that lustful kind of way that my dad stuffed it down, I struggled with that really hardcore. And it wasn't just struggling with porn and things like that, it was flirting too much, or doing things I should not have been doing. And I think that we want to ride that edge, right? We're always those guys that are going to ride that edge. Because I was in church, right? So I was like, well, God knows my heart, and I'm not overstepping this bounds, but we're riding that edge so hard because it's how we're dealing with it. If we're not being honest with the wife, she's not showing us enough attention, whatever those things may be, we're just fighting too much. We ride that fence, and we're like, well, yeah, but I'm not sleeping with her, so it's okay that I flirt, it's okay that I do these things. And it's how we shove those feelings down and want it to be. So I did. I struggled with all the lustful things we've all struggled with. It was a big part of my life for so long.
Yeah.
And it was just how I learned to deal with, or actually not deal with, if the wife and I were having issues or she was more involved with the kids than me, whatever those things were, I wasn't able to express it because I was like, forget it, she's not going to change anyway, so let her do her thing, and I'm just going to hide all these things in this back corner and just stuff.
Yeah. When did you finally start to recognize some of those wounds and start to deal with them? And then what happened when you did?
So, I think that, so for me, it's always, because I was always in church, there's always that hint of guilt in the back of my head, like, I'm not supposed to be doing this. And I'm supposed to feel, I'm supposed to let her know, like, look, I'm struggling with this, I'm struggling with that, whatever those things were. And I could just never fess up to those. I could just never just cross that. There was the hard-heartedness, there was all these different things I was going through. And finally, what really went over the edge for me is I took root in. And when I took root in, I sat down with a group of guys on their stronghold days. And one of the guys who, is a really big influence on my life at this point, he just laid it all out there. When you're able to see a guy that's in his late 70s, that I became really good friends with, saying, look, I struggle with, lust every single day. If I go to the store and I do all these things, I struggle with it all the time. I'm like, man, this is a guy I love, who I would have never thought in a million years still had that struggle. And him being able to say that, it just came out. So I'll kind of give you guys a little background. So here's how bad it was for me with the lustfulness, so you guys have some context. Because it's just us all here talking. When I was 17 years old, I come home from a party. My mom and dad, I can hear them crying. Their bedrooms are kind of close to my house. And I can hear them crying. My mom's like, hey, come here. I'm like, yeah. She's like, Michael, your dad just got arrested for soliciting a prostitute. I'm like, man, okay. Let me know how it goes, and I went to bed. My mom wakes me up 5 o'clock in the morning next Saturday morning. She's like, I need you to go to all our friends' houses. You need to pick up all their newspapers. I'm like, what are you talking about? She's like, your dad's picture's gonna be in the newspaper. I don't want any of your friends or our friends to know that happened, so go pick up the newspapers. So now here I am driving around 17 years old trying to pick up newspapers for them, right? And I just, that always sticks with me, and for whatever reason, I wasn't able to say, hey, look, that's a bad behavior. I shouldn't probably do that kind of behavior. But I think it's hard for us to learn when that's our coping mechanism. Right? When we fall back on those things rather than having our feelings, rather than working from our heart, when that's the go-to, it's just easy, right? And I think those examples, but it wasn't until rooted that I was able to vent that. Like, I never told that story to anybody until I took rooted and I had 5 guys sitting around me.
Wow.
I was able to vent that to.
Wow, that's great. And what happened to you personally whenever you were able to tell people that story? How did it affect you?
So what it's done for me is it's been freeing enough to where I don't struggle with that lustfulness in the morning. If there is a struggle, I'm able to talk to the wife. I don't, like we're talking about scrolling through Instagram. We've all done it, right? We've stayed on one video just a second too long, now my whole algorithm changes. I'm seeing stuff I shouldn't be seeing, right? All that stuff, like, I don't, if that happens to pop up, I'm like, nope, I'm not watching that thing, right? So it's able to, it rechanged my brain to be able to get past that stuff in little things, right? Like, cussing was one part of my repertoire. That's what I did working in prison all those years. Just kind of what we get accustomed to. It's just part of our vocabulary. And I sat down around that same time when I'm trying to vent all that stuff. And I'm not saying cussing is innately just wrong you shouldn't, like, but when every other word that's coming out of my mouth is an F-bomb when I'm around people, I needed to get rid of that as well, just to change, because that's my heart posture, right? That's when I talk and how I articulate things, that's part of my heart posture too. So when I turned that over, at the same time I turned over all that lustfulness, now it surprises me if I actually do cuss. You know what I mean? So it's all those things kind of collective that we've kind of worked through.
Yeah, so a lot of freedom came with being able to just name it and say it out loud
For
for
sure.
people. That's
Right, and I think that's the thing we don't do well.
Yeah.
Right, we don't do well as men. Like even, because here's the thing, you know, sitting with all my tables that I've done with growing healthy tables and intimacy and all the different things that we've gone through and the temptation books, you realize, like, wait a minute, we are all struggling with the same thing, all of us. But we fear that we're the only ones going
Right.
through this. And I tell you what, I told this morning, out of all the tables I've done with the temptation book, I've only had one guy ever be like, I've never struggled with lust. And I've probably done 4 tables. It's like, you know, 30 guys,
Yeah.
and all of us have struggled except for one. Like that may be the odd man out. I think we all kind of struggle.
Yeah, for real. And if it's not lust, it's something else. It's gambling, or it's
Right,
some other
something.
sort of addiction,
For sure.
alcoholism, drugs, whatever
Yeah,
it is.
for sure.
But you know, what comes out of our mouth doesn't overflow of our heart, like you said. It's our heart posture. So,
For sure.
dude, that's awesome that you were able to get some freedom from that just by being able to say it out loud.
Absolutely.
Telling some guys around you. What do you think made it so hard for you prior to that moment to share that with other people?
I think the biggest thing is because it's our heart posture where we're at with things and trying to fess up, we don't want to look weak to other men, right? That's what it is. We want to look like men, we want to act like men, we're going to run around and we're going to, you know, be all tough and everything else. And what I've realized is because we all have that same struggle, we all have that same journey, if we are all together collectively able to share our hearts like that, we'll realize we're on the same boat, but it's about looking, to me, that's, and it's with what I did for a living, because it's on both sides, right? I don't care if it was the guys I supervised in prison, whatever that was, they're working out of fear as well. It's either fear for their own safety, it's either fear for how other people are gonna view them. I can't look weak about my partners, the guys I'm supervising can't look weak about the other guys I'm working. Like it's all about this show, and at the end of the day, we are all scared, all of us.
Yeah.
Especially in that environment, and I don't care if it's in here, I don't care if it's outside. I mean, I've been involved in riots with like 500 guys. I don't care who you are. I've sat there and watched 500 guys fight, stab each other. At the end of the day, I'm scared to death, and I have to stop it, and they're scared to death, and they're just fighting for their lives too. And I think if we put ourselves in that kind of idea, if it's driving down the street, if it's in a grocery store, whatever, if something bad's happening, everybody's scared, and we all have to be okay with that. We still have to react and do certain things because we're called to do that, but everybody's afraid. And we're all afraid of looking weak and
Yeah, I mean that's the truth. I mean, there have been days in my life where I was thankful I was wearing brown pants. So, but talking about it and getting guys around you, whether it was just guys or if it was co-ed, being able to say it helped you, right?
For sure.
It helped fix you, but
Yeah,
it
just
didn't
talk about it.
It wasn't the fixer,
Nope.
but it was the ability to get it out that
Right.
helped fix you.
Right, and it was the ability to say those things and work through that, and you have to do it with your Bible, right?
Yeah.
You have to do it, because what I realize now is my relationship with Christ that has helped all those things happen. Like, that's what has made those things happen, not help, that's what has fixed it. And being able to vocalize that then makes it real.
Right.
If we shove it down, we never vocalize it, it's not real for us, right? And we can still pretend like, oh, I'm fine, God knows my heart. Well, yeah, that's my problem, and I realize that. I used to say it all the time, right? Well, God knows my heart, even though I'm doing something stupid. Well, the problem is, yeah, God knows my heart, and when it comes down to it, I'm doing the wrong things, because I'm not living how He wants me to live. And so, we can look at that both ways. Like, you know, I can say something, well, God knows my heart, I just said something silly, whatever, I don't mean that. That's wonderful. But it's also the other side, too.
Yeah.
Like, God knows my heart, and I'm still doing something stupid, so I have to really focus what I'm doing.
Yeah, and you look at Jesus in the Garden of Gethsemane, you know, he's surrounded by his friends. They didn't fix him. He didn't ask him to fix him. He asked him just to stick around and stay close, right? So in that vein, since you've been able to talk about this, who were the guys, not to name them, but who has kept watch with you? And what did their presence do that holding it in never could?
So I think surrounding ourselves, so like we all have friends that are not on the same journey that we are. And then you have the group of guys that are. And the group of guys I went through Rooted with, they're still my buddies, those are my boys. And it doesn't matter if, like most of those guys in their 70s and 80s, a couple of younger ones, but when you're on that journey together with somebody, because then it's like accountability. And here's the thing, even if they don't call you every week, even if they're not checking on you every week, what happens is you feel accountable to them. Because if I start screwing up again, I'm like, man, he's going to turn around and call me tomorrow, or he's going to send me a text, I'm going to feel like because I faltered and I did these things. So it's almost one of those things where even if it's not a daily conversation, you feel accountable. And what that's done is that made me accountable to them, but more importantly, it's made me accountable to Christ. Because it's worked on my relationship with my Bible. To have a better relationship with that, so I have a better relationship with Jesus, to where I can have a better relationship with them, the guys that I lean on, they're in my Growing Healthy on Tuesday nights, like all those guys are important to me. And it's this set of guys I'm doing it with right now, it's a set of guys I did the last table with. It just keeps collecting more and more. And I think that's what we're called to do, right? We keep collecting guys in our groups. Still have to be friends with those guys that are not necessarily on a journey, because we need to be light and salt for them. They need to see Jesus in us to hopefully bring them up. We have to surround ourselves with those guys who are going to be accountable, that we're going to be accountable to, so we can be accountable to our
There's two sides to that coin. I think we as men, a lot of us want to be in that leadership position. We want to sit at the table and have guys that we're pouring into. But at the same time, we have to be able and strong enough to be able to sit on the other side of the table and filled up.
Right. And that's actually what I realized this morning. Like we were talking earlier this morning. Like I've never been to a Tuesday morning, and I came and spoke Tuesday morning, and I realized like it's so much of me, leading tables, which I love, and I'm never gonna stop leading a Tuesday night table. But I'm gonna go Tuesday morning so I can be filled up, because I can't be with that other group of guys every Tuesday morning.
Right.
So I think it's important.
Yeah, and for the guy that's always sitting at the table, it's important for him to step out of his comfort zone
For sure.
and lead every once in a while and show
Absolutely.
like, hey, I'm just as vulnerable as you are.
Right.
Here's how I've accomplished this, but I'm stepping out of my comfort zone to do this now.
Absolutely. I think it's really important.
Yeah, so where has Jesus begun to heal you in anything? It doesn't have to be that specific issue. And where's the healing still in process?
So the biggest thing is Jesus has healed my hardened heart. We can read our Bible and we can see that hardened heart all over the place, right? And I think we all have it to a certain extent, no matter what it is in life. There's something we're hardened about. And I don't have that hardness anymore. And it's through that relationship and through the relationship with my Bible, through my relationship with Jesus, that it's able to soften me to where it's like, you know what? I don't get mad if someone cuts me off anymore. I mean, how many of us just, those little things, right? Where we get cut off, man, what are you doing? And throwing your hands up and everything else. Like, you don't know where that person's at. You don't know what's going on with them or whatever that looks like. And I think just softening my heart is really where he's worked the most. He's also worked a lot in my marriage. Going through all those years of being married that long and not putting God first in our marriage back then, and us being on this journey together. Like, I love my wife more now than I ever have. We've known each other since we were kids. So huge healing on that. Where he's still working on me hard right now is being, like, trying to live like Jesus and not being offended. I think it's easy for us guys to say, like, look, this individual's not doing things my way. Even if it's our adult kids, like, no, you're supposed to be acting like this. And when we get upset about that, it's not doing what Jesus wants us to do, right? And I think that that's hard for us as guys especially, right? Because our heart's like, no, I want you to do it this way. And it's not out of any anger or anything else. It's because we want them to be successful, especially if it's part of our family. Right? Like, no, I'm telling you this because I've already been through it. I'm trying to put you in the right direction. But they're adults. They have to be able to, like, I can't get upset with my two kids that are raising my grandsons. God has chosen them to steward my grandsons. And I have to be okay, unless they're gonna put them in danger, something different. But if it's just just a basic decision, I can't be mad at those decisions. And I have to work on that, because Jesus didn't get offended very often.
Yeah. He didn't get it, but he was righteously angry.
He did.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I love that story, right? Because we have to look at ourselves, we compare ourselves, right, with that righteous anger. The problem is, we don't put ourselves in the position of the money changers, which is probably who we are.
Right.
You know what I mean? We want to do that righteous anger, but we also need to be able to live like he did when he went to cast out the demons, right? He went to cast out the demons. They're like, hey, put us in the pigs, and we're going to split, right? So he puts them in the pigs, runs the pigs off the hill. Next thing, they're like, hey, you need to get out of here. You cost us all this money. Jesus is like, cool, I'm leaving. I'm out of here. He didn't get upset. He could have He's God, right? He could have been all mad saying, no, I'm staying here. You don't know what you're talking about.
Right.
He's like, good, I'm leaving. He was unoffended, he's still God. So I think it's trying to live that. I think that's where he's really working on it.
Yeah, I mean, there's both sides of that coin, right?
Oh,
Like you
for
said,
sure.
if your grandkids in danger, we're gonna have words.
Right.
Right? Who was I talking to this morning? I don't remember. Some of the best coaches I've ever had in my life have been some of the meanest people I've ever had in my life.
Absolutely.
Right? And sometimes it's called for.
Right.
But we as men, we need to do that and be compassionate.
Right.
It's a kick in the pants and a pat.
Right.
pat
Yeah,
back.
it has to be that, the praise has to come with it.
Right.
Right? It's like, look, you're putting someone in danger, you're doing this, and this wrong, because it's gonna hurt somebody. I still love you, but we need to work through this. I think it has to be part two.
Yeah. Okay. We are over time because of technical difficulties, but
Okay.
I'm going to give you a couple minutes. We got 100 dudes here.
Okay.
What do you want to say to them?
So one of the things, and you're gonna hear a lot more about it next week, one of the things that has truly changed me as well is I do the shower ministry. You guys see the trailer out here, right? 2 trailers out there. I take that shower trailer out 4 times a month. I do 2 days in Palm Springs, I do 1 day in Palm Desert, I do 1 day in Desert Hot Springs. That has completely changed my life because it's made people real for me again. And it's important that we do, and I was uncomfortable. The first time I did it, I was like, I'm not going out there and doing that. And then my buddy, who started the ministry, was like, look, I just need some help. Can you please come out and help me? I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go help my buddy. And I've been doing it ever since. I've been doing it for 2 years now. We have to do things that are uncomfortable. And we have to serve outside of this area. Like, we have to take ourselves out of our comfort zone, because I think it's not easy to volunteer in our church, but it's easy to volunteer in our church, if that makes sense. Like, I'm on the safety team, I do those things, I'm never gonna change, I don't always do that. But I need to do something outside here, because I have to do something that makes me uncomfortable. That made me uncomfortable in the beginning. Now I'm better, so I'm gonna have to find something else that makes me uncomfortable. I think it's important as men that we get uncomfortable doing things to serve others. And I think the service of others will help change our hearts. All those things collectively need to be changed. And when we serve others, I think it truly changes our heart posture when we do it.
100%. And I think that's great. We have to be comfortable being uncomfortable.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
So, all right. And that's our time. But
Let's do it.
Mike, dude, appreciate you. Thanks for
Thank
having
you.
the conversation.
I appreciate
Guys,
it.
give it up for
Thanks,
Mike.
guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. All right, guys, we're gonna break to our tables. At our tables, just like Mike experienced, whenever he was able to say some of the things that he experienced in the past and those wounds that he held inside that were holding him back in certain ways. Talk about those things. Get it out to the safe space. The guys that are around your table. Nobody's gonna shame you. Nobody's gonna make fun of you. They might make fun of you, but they're gonna do it in love. And so just know that you guys can talk about that kind of stuff. That's what this is for. Okay, so spend the time at your tables, go through your study guide and your questions in there, but also talk about those wounds that you have. Get them out there, name it, and ask